Here we go with Chapter 7 of Metroid High School. But what did the author have to say before I actually read this thing? Yet again. Hello! Okay, I'm so sorry that it took so long to write again. Thanks for everyone staying the course and remembering the story. That's so cool, 52 reviews. Even bads are good. Okay, lots of things have happened since last time, and I'm sorry it's been a time. Servitus and I aren't internet dating, only friends now, but we're still happy, and it's pretty cool. He still wants people to read things, and he's going to have new stuff soon, so check it or out. Also, if taking new classes like special English to learn new words, even make some up. Dear God. My friends made a new law that we can't use set anymore in stories, so there's more spice and less crap if you catch the drift. Also, I've learned more politics and understandings from Servantes, so there will be referencing to today's issues if you notice because they're hidden. This chapter is dedicated to the sarcasm, but because even though you're not being real and mean, the joke's on you because you wrote a nice review even though you're so mean, so ha. Let's just read. Chapter 7, Election, Insurrection. Nice, these two rhyme. Samus Aran, what the hell? Mrs. Chozo freaked out at the teen. Samus had powers, but not mind control, so she couldn't figure the deal. Unfortunately, the deal was clear because Samus had a D in Histoiro, and Chozo was a major. Samus, this is unacceptable under this house. You must succeed or there will be capital punishment. Samus de facto venganged. Samus wanted to be a teen and descendant Iroh, but she was afraid of her legal guardian and didn't want to make moves that would make things mad, or she wouldn't be able to go to the mall with Helen and Mandy anymore. And what about even boys? Okay, I'll think of something, Samus cajoled as she ran off classes, leaving Chozo Mom in a dust bowl. Minorities. Mrs. Chozo backslashed. In school hadn't begun, but Samus was taking time to convey the message to her friends, and it was almost an apocalypse. My history D is going to destroy my life! Samus exclaimed to everyone in the entire city who heard. Even construction workers dropped. Okay, dude, it's not the end of the world yet. There still could be time, situation control Amy, who tried her best from turning it into a disaster, but everyone knew a problem. It was only 2 weeks until grades were in. And what was there to do? Questions were stopped because hello and slip, dip and cop, flop, clip and slip, ditch, fizzle, sliz, Principal Yokoi embarrassed. He tried to be teen, but everyone only groaned and laughed at his lack of legit, and he was embarrassed, but the news continued. Today, the majority legislator decided if anyone in the state becomes class president, they have an automated A in history from experience and leadership. The principal announced to the populace. Not everyone cared about politicrap, but Samus liked the A clause. No, clauses are in Constitution or laws. Fuck that. In other news, Class President Camden was impeached yesterday because of stealing school money and using it to fund hedges in the parking lot and buy pork barrels for the hockey team, so there's going to be a total recall on next Tuesday. The class knew that Camden was hungry for power and food, but how would have guessed his Nixonix? And who would be drafted? Samus was on her way out of school from another day of MHS. She heard a sketchy voice echo down the corridor. Psst, psst. Hello? Samus warded off spirits, but it wasn't a spirit, it was only Trace. Samus, the game dude was black hacking into Power School. He knows the problem with your history in the D, Trace intonated. Normally Samus would have freaked from the breach of the Second Amendment, but she knew that Trace was a man of fine points. What are you getting to? Samus cut the chase. Hasty girl. Trace smiled with a grin. The thing is, the game dude and I formed an exploratory commission. We've decided that you would be possible candidate to lead the school into total recall. And if you win, then... Trace left the rest up to Samus' imagination. Samus had never thought about policy and governmental duty, but this was an intrigue because she remembered the new A clause from the Newsman this morning and knew if she didn't get an A somehow that she'd have to take a fifth or suffer the consequence. I'll think about it, Samus non-committed, but secretly everyone knew the realities. It was going to be an election. Would there be an insurrection? The next day, school started. Samus had already cleansed her mind and her decision was clear. But first she had to go to a party. She knew from school news that Republicans like to kill trees, but she liked Tress, so she became Democratic. Okay, welcome to the Democrat caucus, invited Amy by everyone, but she was a leader of the Democrats in the school committee. And she could run meetings and primaries, and there was a speaker in school set up, but no one cares about student council, so whatever. Today is when we choose who will run for president, so if there are nominations, now's the time to commit, advocated Amy. There were heads that rolled, but in the end people made decisions. I nominate Tia1, Helen endorsed her favorite boyfriend. Some people laughed at his name, but they were kicked out of the party because of anti-immigration. Okay, there are other nominees. Amy wanted to laugh to the community. I nominate Samus, Adam Malkovich. Let's just continue reading. He and Samus were almost going out, so this was like a shoe-in. This is before Samus and Ridley met, so don't freak out, he's not forgotten, okay? So this is still part of the prequel. Okay, that closes the nomination, so it's time to rock the votes. Amy used MTV language. So how caucuses worked is that candidates stand in corners and then people walk over and whoever has more people wins and is nominated. Amy explained to multitudes. She gave the signal. People walked over to the corners for Samus or Tiowan. It was really closey at the beginning, but near the end more people went to Samus because not everyone was too keen on having a Mexico present, plus Samus was kind of hot. Thank you, voters, and congratulations to Samus Aran, who will now be voted at the Total Recall. Everyone pledged delegates to the football queen, even Tiowan because he was still friends with a Democrat. Samus had won the Democrats, but what about the election? For the rest of the day, Samus was congratulated by people in the school, except not everyone because Republicans were not quite as keen on Iranian policies. Before the day was over, Trace and Amy wanted to have a word with the candidate. Good job on the nomination, but here's the deal, Amy began with a sentence. The election is going to be a tough one, but you're going to have some help. Trace and I will be your campaign managers because I can help out with Democrat votes and Trace can use underground connections to help with election totals. Amy finished up as Trace nodded with slyful grin. Okay, this is good, but who am I up against? Samus pondered as she awaited the results from her staffers. At lunch, the Republicans had their primary, and Captain Falcon was chosen as the victor. Trace slyly foxed. Helen and Samus were not pleased at the news and reflected it with their demeanors. Captain Falcon was very popular because he was the captain of the track team and held every record, even some that were made up just for him. Some people said that he cheated by using a race car instead of running, but his parents had shitload of money, so they paid judges, and everyone was okay. It's time for strategy, and he began the plan. Okay, so Captain Falcon will probably try use money to win. But I want to stop reading, but what is Captain Falcon all of a sudden doing in the story? Aside from the fact that Samus and Captain Falcon had appeared in Super Smash Bros. Games together, and that Samus and Captain Falcon are both bounty hunters, I'm sure there's no relation. But if we speak with truth and say what's right, people will vote. Amy optimized. Trace wasn't so positive because of experience in shady smoker room deals, but he knew that Samus had a shot except there were Republicans anywhere, and it'd be a tough one. Elections have been so close, but in the end, someone has always won. But would it be Samus? Oh, let's just see. Over the week before the election, there were many deal seals and campaigns. Captain Falcon uses money like everyone thought and bought ads that smeared across the intercom. One even said that Samus, you didn't know what with a lobbyist. Everyone unclear. Lobbyists wait around the lobby of Congress and buy drinks and tickets for senators, so they vote for high gas prices and less trees. Luckily, Samus was a Democrat, so people knew she wasn't into that shit. It was a bumpy roa, but it was time for the debate. Okay, welcome to the 72 Memorial Debates. Principal Yokoi kicked off the dramatics. Everyone knows the candidates, but now it's time to hear about the issues. First question is for you, Mr. Falcon, journalized Selix, president of the class newspaper. What are your feelings about global warming? Captain Falcon cooled with a simmering snap. My real question is, what are you feeling about global warming? Falcon's sleeve stepped the issues. All the Republicans cheered because they're too stupid to understand that Falcon and not understanding questions while only sucking his guts. Thank you, Mr. Falcon. Dr. Samus, how would you feel about World War III? All eyes were on Samus. She formulated her position, but she remained cucumber cool and answered, War is not the option, but if it's necessary, then it must happen for people. Many people clacked except for the Falcon Republicans, who are too stupid to know about wars. Thank you, everyone. That concludes the debate, and it's time to choose the candidates. Remember not to choose popular people, and only who your heart is after. Yokoi Disney Channel, but everyone knew that people would vote for the populists, but who was the most? The votes were about to be tallied, and Samus was taking a walk through halls and heard a strange, rumbling, bumbling noise from the boiler room. What could it be? She investigated. She opened the door, shocked to find a political machine. Ha! You caught us trying to rig votes with a copying machine! Snagged up Captain Falcon and ex-facto candidate who were joined with other Republicans. They looked serious, but Samus was too. That is unacceptable! Samus furied as she began to use Jitsu signs and stances, but Candid summoned bodyguards. Who was it? Kraid and his gang! Luckily, Samus was used to fighting these losers, so she took them all out with her techniques and attacks, and they were soon piled up on the floors. You may have defeated idiots, but what about me? Captain Falcon punched Samus, but she dodged and dumbass Falcon fell out the window. He punched so hard. Cannon ran away because he didn't want to get caught. Hallmark and Noxus jailed him for conspiracies against the populace. What about Samus? Congratulations, President Aaron. Principal Yokoin inaugurated Samus to the presidency, and there were many cheers among the crowd. Even a few rhinos were sort of like Democrats. Everything was going well, alright, Samus was signing articles without to enact the A clause, but heard a voice over the answer. Hello to the people of the school. It is I, Emperor Falcon. I have taken over the office, and now I'm the president of the school. Principal Yokoi was befuddled, but he was a bozo cop and didn't even know what to do. The school was under siege. My first order of business is that Samus Aran, who thinks she is president of the class, is arrested for treason against Falcon government. The captain hardlined as you could hear Kraid and gang members in the background snacking and snicking at the situation. When she is arrested, she is to be killed and displayed for public appeal. Samus' eyes narrowed. She may have won the election, but would she win the insurrection? The Metroid High School election was over. The Metroid Civil War had just begun. And then all this is her talking about she apologized for spelling mistakes, yada yada. And that's chapter 7. Stay tuned for the last chapter, 8. We'll finally figure out if Captain Falcon gets his ass kicked yet again.